leaders in travel and hospitality check in to share insights and breakthroughs shaping the industry. Brought to you by Encora, your trusted partner for AI, cloud, and data-driven innovation. Enjoy your stay. Hello and welcome to another episode of Encora's Dojo Live. This is Tuesday, April 22nd, and we're excited to have our conversation today because we're kicking off a new series here. This is a brand new series we're titling Redefining the Digital Storefront: Insights from Hospitality's Direct Booking Leaders. Over the next 3 weeks, we'll be joined by experts from leading companies in the booking and distribution spaces, sharing their insights on how technology is transforming direct bookings, loyalty strategies, personalization, dynamic pricing, seamless system integrations. Say that one 10 times fast. And all of this with the goal of driving, of course, profitability and elevating the guest experience. So to kick us off, we're going to be talking about business travel reimagined, the booking engine goes intelligent. We're going to be exploring what the next generation of business booking engines look like and how they're solving for food, spend, and personalization specifically in Asia's travel market. And to walk us through this is Varun Sarda, co-founder of VELOCITY.travel. Varun, thank you so much for joining us today here on Dojo Live.
Hey, thank you, Kim. Very happy to be part of this conversation. And yeah, would love to exchange different geographies, different ideas, and how we perceive travel in general in different spaces.
Absolutely, because that is absolutely what travel is all about, right? Getting to know different places, different geographies, different cultures, experience in life. To kick this off, however, Varun, let's talk a bit about your background, what led up to the co-founding of Velocity Travel, and of course, what drives your passion for innovation in hospitality tech. Thank you.
Yeah, I think long story short, I've always been an entrepreneur. I could have sold anything for that matter, and travel just happened by chance, to be honest. So it was a bad experience with an OTA based out of India, and it was like a trigger point that e-commerce was hot. This was 2013, 2014. Everybody was talking about e-commerce in general, and I just didn't want to sell t-shirts or just anything, or like kind of an Amazon who would just buy, resell, or create a marketplace. Whereas travel, this bad experience led to that trigger point of creating something in travel. And then I just realized how easy it is to sell a flight online, earn commissions by doing absolutely nothing. Yeah, back then commissions were pretty good. I don't know if you recall or know about this, but they were to the 7.5 to 10%, right? You could just book a flight sitting on a computer and earn 10% flat. Like how good of a business could that be, right? And but truth be told, the moment I entered the business, the commission started dropping, right?
That was your fault then.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish it was like a couple of years earlier, but I could have at least made money back then. But that said, I mean, yeah, it's true. The day I joined, it actually started dipping, and various reasons. The airlines in India started to follow, something like a European structure or a North American structure, and everything started to go down. But with that said, I really started loving how the industry functioned. It has just way too many variables, right? I mean, imagine the number of things going wrong with a client for whom you've booked a trip. The guide could not show up, the vehicle can go down, there's a force major, an earthquake somewhere, anything can happen, right? And it's how, as an entrepreneur or as a businessman, you want to solve a lot of problems through technology, through solutioning, through manpower, through whatever it may be. So I think I could have not survived in any other industry. I mean, I would have been survived, but I mean, it's travel is a great trigger to at least the kind of mind that I have. So you keep on solving. It's like every day, even to this day, you're just solving a lot of problems in travel because of the number of variables that it has. So it keeps me excited. With that said, yeah, I was I mean, coming down to how we started the business travel, it's just COVID. I think I have everything to do with COVID. When the
Mm.
business was shut, we were predominantly a holiday, online holiday sort of a company selling flights, holiday. I mean, not uh, ideally not where I would want myself to be, but we were doing well. I mean, financially, yes, good numbers in general, but we were not exploding the way I would have loved our company to explode. And when COVID happened, we truly went back to the drawing board. We thought again, like, what are we missing? Why is scale not happening? And the answer was probably the amount of money that people are losing in B2C business. It was also taking the chunk of our business away because the OTAs were discounting in India, and due to which we lost a lot of market share. So we thought, let's look at the side which is, which OTAs are not putting their minds and energy at. And then business travel
Mm.
evolved, and there was a true lack of a good business travel engine. Even now, I mean, India has a severe challenge of a non-existent business ecosystem for travel in general. And that's how Velocity was formed. So we created a beautiful technology to support it, and yeah, we are on a revolution here.
All right. So let's talk about that big picture in business travel. What are the biggest challenges you see in booking business travel today, especially, for enterprise users in the Indian and Asian markets where you're located?
Right. So I feel one large enterprises, by the very hierarchy of it, the vendor roles, the supplier management, the credit policies, they would not, and I think their egos also have to be satisfied at certain point of time, because you're this large company sitting out of India, you're trading on the stock exchange and all, and now you've got hundreds of travel vendors who are ready to serve anything and everything, right? And they want control over whatever, even the slightest of approvals, and they think that this is savings by not by having that credit line, by having that privilege of not able to, I mean, not being asked to pay to the vendor at that very moment. So you're just I mean, us as a new age company, we're just dealing with a very different mindset altogether. And to capture that mind and to bring them online, it's a mammoth of a task. I'm not saying it's not happening, it is happening. Everybody is slowly realizing, but considering our position from where we come from, I think 65% of the business still, I mean, they don't want to go online. I mean, large enterprises, they
Mhm.
don't want to go onto a business travel tool even now.
Wow.
So this mindset of having to control everything, catching hold of the vendor through by the mechanisms of payments, that's how they don't trust online still, which is weird.
All right. So, as with the online movement and we're preparing for today's show, I remember that you said the future of AI in booking is coming in months and not years.
Yep.
So, what is it that you're seeing that's now this tipping point for AI driven innovation, maybe this online driven innovation, specifically for the business travel space?
Right. And contrary to that, I feel it is not going to happen in B2C at all. Not in months,
Okay.
definitely. It's going to take time to mature how B2C users consume data driven AI decisions, if I may. But for business travel, I think it's a total game changer, because it's how you interact. I mean, how you reduce the number of interactions that the users have in business travel, right? The number of exchanges of conversations. For example, someone wants to book a flight, and he gets hold of Varun, and he's like, you know what, Varun, I don't like traveling during the nights. I want a flight at 10 a.m. and I want a vegetarian meal, whatever, right? Varun goes out of the job, and there's another guy, maybe John, who comes in. So this information of a business traveler that flows down to, let's say, John. And John, if he has this kind of efficiency compared to Varun, will he deliver, will he not deliver, the number of errors that he's going to make. So I think the use case is very different compared to B2C. So you're reducing the interactions because of AI. You're understanding user, you're understanding behavior, and its ability to produce um, like good amount of reports, just good amount
Mm.
of data driven reports to define better policies, optimize travel spends and whatnot. I think that the use cases are just way too many, but the point that I'm trying to make over here is the number of user interactions have to go down.
So it links it to the control aspect that you were speaking about earlier. And is this because the business traveler is just that one persona that we're not having to link it to them when they're, traveling on their own or for pleasure or with their family because it's just that single channel?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you're on a personal travel, you want to optimize because it's your own money. You want to
Mm,
open 300 tabs, and you want to see if you're making the right decision, the right provider. Is it the cheapest? Are you using some promo codes and whatnot? Whereas over here, your money, your wallet is your company, and you don't generally care like how are you spending. As long as the enterprise allows you to book a business class travel, you just don't mind, right? So you want it the quickest. You want the best airlines. You want the at the best time. You don't want a red eye because who cares, man? I mean, my company is paying for it, right? You want the five-star hotel that fits the policy of the company. So your decisions are very different from your
mm.
personal travel, and which is why I think I have this exorbitant opinion that AI in B2C or personal holidays is just not going to work, is what I feel.
Huh.
It's going to optimize, yes, it's going to be helpful, but you cannot let an AI decide for you because your control from your holiday is gone, is what I feel.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
you walked us a little bit through that discovery process of how it's different for the business traveler as compared to a leisure traveler. You talked a little bit about what the modern employee kind of wants from their booking experience. Um, and so you feel that it's a bit more impossible for the leisure traveler for AI to be helping deliver that. How is AI specifically helping to deliver this for the business traveler, however?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, imagine this. Right. You you're on business travel. It's kind of a forced trip, right? I mean, not forced trip per se, but let's say I have to travel 5 times a month. To Berlin, SF, New York. Though I enjoy traveling, but it's just like I don't. I want to optimize my decisions faster, right? So I mean, if I could just text and I could make it happen, I would do that
Mm,
versus going on the user interface, clicking on flight, building my product, sending it for approval, right? Just filtering, sorting that data out, right? It's I think it's a nuisance because I am a business travel too, a traveler as well, right? I genuinely want to know just maybe what's the weather like if there are some events around that location. I want to optimize my spends. I want to take the cheapest flight. Just give me three options which fit, the company bill, and the hotel options is within my budget. I don't want to dance around playing on a booking.com or an expedia.com, opening maps, figuring out what is the restaurants nearby. I don't want all of that, right? I just want to optimize my travel, and I want to get done with it in like the next 5 minutes, right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it makes a lot of sense what you're saying because it's like there isn't that same sense of anticipation or that happens when you're traveling for leisure, right? Can we talk about a few practical use cases of what you're talking about in terms of, what Velocity Travel is doing, the AI with the business user? Is it already making a measurable impact? I mean, in terms of conversion, personalization. I mean, even though not personalization to the same degree that we might expect, as we're traveling on our own, but policy compliance for businesses. I mean, those types of things are important. Walk us through some of that measurable impact, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've done is, although we're still training the model to a very large extent, what are we trying to do over here is at any given point of time we are trying to absorb all the preferences. So So understand this. So there's an employee, there are grades of employee, then there are CXOs who travel, right? So the CXOs have very peculiar demand always, right? This is the airlines that I prefer, this is the seats that I would rather prefer, and this is the time of the day that I genuinely want to I enjoy traveling at this time or whatever, right? So we want to study and we want to take all of this data into account before using that, consuming that data into a personalized result. So this is being done. What we have achieved right now is just very small sets of data, which is your preference of airlines or your preference of meals. That's about it. But like we want to sit on large use cases now, and then we want to draw even better decisions. So one aspect is, of course, personalization in terms of, you're bang on. You're like, I want the best flight to Dubai, let's say next week. So the AI has to understand who is he talking to, who is the AI talking to, what are his preferences, and what kind of results should we get out with, right? So this is what we are solving from the personalization point of view. We're also taking into the policy compliance of it. So what happens is, a lot of times it just pops up saying you're not eligible for this flight, you're not eligible for that, versus imagine an ecosystem which we create and we deliver such good results that, what, your company doesn't allow 7 days, but here is, from the 8th day, 9th day, and 10th day of travel. Thereby you're not overwhelming the employee by saying, what, this is the hard stop over here, just go back and do it on your own. But you are actually telling that, hey, you know what, you can't travel 7 days to departure, but here are the options for 8, 9, 10. Why don't you select? So that's a better way of presenting policies and ensuring that compliances are there. So these are, yeah, I mean, the most practical use cases that we are thinking of at this moment.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The idea of offering alternatives, even if it's not what we had originally hoped for. I mean, that had come up on a recent Dojo Live show with Groups 360, where they were talking about with the RFPs to be able to always answer that, right? Even if it's oh, those dates aren't available, but these dates are, right?
Yeah.
And I think that kind of aligns with at least have an answer and option. Talking about options, and how this all works in an ecosystem, booking engines, as you know, do not operate in a vacuum. I'm curious as to what role interoperability with other systems such as expense management, policy enforcement, reporting play in creating this sort of seamless experience. Of course, not for the business traveler, but for the businesses who are allowing their employees or utilizing tools like VELOCITY.travel.
Yeah, and one of the largest use case that we keep seeing over here is that, the constant jump in and jump out of tools, right? That happens for an employee. Expense, you go on to some other tool. For flights, you have to use some other tool. Your attendance is recorded on another tool, right? You have to bring this ecosystem together, which means the booking engines of the future have to be linked to your expenses, to your HRMS, to your Slacks for approval, to Microsoft Teams, perhaps even WhatsApp for that matter, so that you on your own, I mean, you're not thrown out of your comfort zone. Because, like I said, business travel is very boring for most of the employees. As honest as I can be, it's the most boring thing, that anyone can think of. So I feel, largely, and this is what we are also building in a manner where our tool seamlessly integrates inside of these largely accepted tools in an employee's life, right? That's what we think, and that's how we are trying to integrate, rather build solutions with that regards.
Nice. Uh, you know, Culturally speaking, because we are talking about, the Asian market, I'm curious as to how Indian and Asian enterprises are thinking about and consuming, travel. Are there distinct expectations or perhaps behaviors that shape the technology that's being built specifically for this region versus, perhaps, the Western Hemisphere or Europe? What do you see, and what might be influencing some of your decisions if you choose to also transition or shift at some point?
Yeah, that's, I mean, there's a very long answer to this, because look, we have not seen money, I mean, in this region at least, Southeast Asia specifically, in parts of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, right? We are by default, we are deal hunters, right? I mean, even though somebody is bringing value through technology, we don't perceive, or we don't accept it so easily. You would, I mean, you will be mind blown to know that, like, whoever has tried to enter the Indian market in terms of technology has
Mm.
gone down from the point of view of discounting. Amazon has gone with discounts. The largest of the company, Netflix of the world, like, you just name it, Ubers of the world, we've all gone with discount as the biggest use case for penetration. So even though, even let's say, Velocity has built the next generation business travel engine, it's just not easy to convince them, because even then they would be like, can you compare yourself to an Agoda, can I get a cheaper price of the hotel? But they don't see the amount of value that we bring in terms of controlled data, controlled interactions, large reports that we bring in and solve for time and bring overall efficiency. It just doesn't matter. So that's how, I mean, everything is related to money over here in general, and that's how largely we still operate. So I mean, Southeast Asia in general is, I mean, just I mean, two words for it. I mean, they're deal hunters. Yep.
Okay, that's a really interesting
Yeah.
approach. And what does that look like for you in terms of penetration? Have you unlocked any kind of secrets that you want to share? You want to keep those to yourself?
So like, imagine this. So I'm a founder, right? And if I go over there and I sell my tool, I have the biggest ego, right? I've built one of the best business travel engines. You just have to agree to it. So it took us a few months to understand that, okay, that is not what it is. It's not so easy, and especially if you want to enter a large enterprise, so you have to please a bit of egos here and there. uh, you know but I think the best way to go inside an organization is from the top, because the CXOs are the best decision makers in India. But if we climb from the HRs and the admins and the travel desk, it's an ego pleasing game. So we've accepted it. We're saying, look, you know what, like, whichever way it is, we will do it, right? So that's our only hack for now. I mean, there's no right answer to this.
All right. But it's good and it's discovery, and that's why we're having these conversations.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that changes. We started our conversation today, or you started rather, talking about e-commerce and how that was this big boom, but it wasn't really that fit for you, or it wasn't where you wanted to go. But there is still a lot of talk about this idea of a digital storefront, right? Particularly now in travel, a lot of the conversation about how travel needs to start being approached like we approach e-commerce. But from your vantage point, how should B2B, because that's who you are, B2B travel platforms rethink their approach in things like merchandising, upselling, and maximizing value per booking?
So I mean, we were really biased towards now how we think for business travel, right? I mean, so imagine this: we are hated by every employee right now in in their organization, because here's this very not. I mean, there's this tool, and they're very rigid, because we are asked to follow the policies, and there's approval processes and everything. So let's say that the employees are not our best friends right now, right? So from that point of view, we want to make them our friends, and we also want to sell them personal travel, we want to sell them personal holidays, right? Which is not happening at the moment. But I mean, we have this idea wherein let's become their best friend, and whenever they're planning their business travel, we will give them so I was mentioning to you earlier, weather insights. We'll give them nudges with regards to the recent events. We'll give them upcoming events during your month of travel. We will tell
Mhm.
you the employee leaderboard, who is booking what, and you'll be a part of this chain as well. Plus, putting you recommendations of activities, and the restaurants to eat during your trip to London. This is the best we can do to tell them that, you know what, we are so friendly with you, and with a switch of a button we convert our AI into a personal holiday engine as well now. So this is how we think that our storefronts are going to be in business travel, and it's very important that we become their friends first. I mean, trust me on the fact that everyone hates their business travel vendor right now in India, at least.
Well, but it's interesting because I think you are onto something in terms of the ability to at least personalize that, make it as streamlined and easy as possible, but then rethink things in terms of that word bleisure, right? So,
Yeah,
okay, you've booked for what you need to have booked. We made that easy for you. While you're there, you can
yeah.
consider, X, Y, and Z. Let's talk a bit about data. Uh, because this is important, I think, both to the companies, but also in order to hit on that personalization. How are companies using booking and travel data to make better decisions? Right. So, how are you seeing from the reports that you're offering and everything else, from spend optimization to employee satisfaction? What's possible?
Yeah, I mean, with a business travel engine that is actually controlling, everything that is being operated in an organization in terms of travel, you are on very large data sets. So imagine a company spending $3 million, $5 million a year annually across entities, across utilization. Um, I think it is going to come to a point where you are going to have an ROI for travel, right?
Hmm.
We're going to see if, Varun is going to travel to, let's say, London, and he takes almost 5 trips for his business travel: London, Berlin, Amsterdam, SF, whatever, right? You can link it. So right now you can link it to your cost centers, but have you linked to the amount of business that is being produced? uh, it could be tangible business, it could be intangible business, right? It could be direct sales, or it could be a branding kind of a thing.
Hmm.
I think the future is that you have to link an employee travel to ROI, right? ROI of the company. And then you have to like sit on broad data sets and then define ROIs based on, employee subsets, division wise, market wise. So you can do into that deep of a study. So right now, even right now, like, of course, carbon offsets, you talk about policy making, you talk about, just redefining your per city budget. All that is broadly available. But when you're talking about like bringing AI into data, then you go at extreme length of actually going down and defining individual policies for, individual employees, and not just broad grades, or um, or rather a broad spectrum for a company.
That's really interesting, and I had never really kind of thought about it because to me, it's always been just about the travel itself, like optimizing this, which airlines and those types of things. But if you're thinking then, if you could even get granular as to which client visits are worth it, which ones aren't, which conferences have we received the most, leads out of, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely. Yep,
Absolutely.
it's mind-boggling, right?
Absolutely. We're coming to the final moments of our conversation here on Dojo Live. So I wanted to talk a bit more about the future. Looking ahead, what emerging technologies or shifts do you believe will be most important or will disrupt business travel in the next, let's say, you were saying 6, but let's go out to 12, 18 months, year and a half. How should enterprise buyers be preparing right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Right now, we're very very far behind. At least the region that we are in. I mean, we still feel that there's, I mean, miles to go, sort of a thing. But what is going to happen right now is, people. I mean, how fast? At least India is growing very fast, very rapidly right now, and in terms of technology or decision makings, everything is changing. So I genuinely feel the way it is going to disrupt through AI is basically going to be mammoth of a task for a company like us to first achieve this. And secondly, the moment, people start to realize that, okay, this is a truly a game changer, this is what the future is. it's it's just going to break all the codes. It's going to be like, um, you know what, this tool is available, let's just hop onto this, because no offline company is, truly understanding how we want to spend travel, how do you want to consume travel right now. Nobody is giving us this data. Why are we on an offline agent still? I mean, companies based off India are still in their absolute comfort zone. They have, literally they have four offline vendors, offline travel agencies, uh, and they have four travel desks within their organization. Employees will write emails to these four guys, these four guys will write emails to those four guys. They will make a
Mhm.
huge summary table, they'll take approvals from them, and by the time they want to book, it's gone. I mean, there's no right? There's no validity. So I mean, it's just like I said, it's just a matter of time. If it flows from the top, it's more about us, companies like us, to go out there and tell them that this is what we've made it happen. I mean, we just built it, and we want to use it to our maximum potential. Being that first movers advantage still, we want to launch it as soon as possible to truly see uh, what game changing of a product it is.
I love that. You know, I was telling a little fib. We're not at the end because there was and is a viewer comment that came in, a question for you. So, this is going to be the final question for today's conversation as we look ahead. And it's also about key takeaways on how you, Varun, to disrupt business travel and ensure transparent pricing and invoicing. So, I believe that's coming just from I interpret that as to what the business traveler is reporting back to the company, but let's get your interpretation on what that means.
Sorry, I was just reading it. What are your key takeaway on how to disrupt business travel and ensure transparent pricing and invoicing? Look, that is, I think that is the key, right? You have to, so I mean, you do everything, but you have to deliver the best practices still in the industry, even though it is thinning your margins overall. And I think
Mhm.
business travel is going to overall evolve into travel as a service. Eventually, it's not going to happen so soon, but I see as it's going to become a value product, wherein people pay per users, something like an expense tool, something like. A SaaS tool, of course. So it's going to become a pure technology tool, is what I sense. Because otherwise, you're not going to ensure transparent pricing and even invoicing, because there's just too many source markets. You buy you can't buy a Ryanair based out of India. I mean, can you believe it? You just can't. It's that difficult because there are compliances, there are problems of remittances, and even though you are not charging it, your the mid layer is charging you for it, right? So there are going to be a lot of things, for travel in general, that are going to change to truly achieve transparent pricing and invoicing.
All right, thank you. And we actually got another question that came in. This is from Marvel Puri, who is actually a previous Dojo Live guest. Hey, Marvel.
And a good
He's
friend of
all
mine.
right. I love that. He's asking about India's business travel market, saying that it is large but low margin. Why focus here? Right, you have Velocity Travel instead of high spend markets like UAE, where per trip revenue is 3 times higher. What's your end game?
Yeah, I completely agree with Marvel over here, and that's why
I'm
we
crazy.
are.
That's my end game.
Yeah, and we don't want to restrict our markets either, but it's just that you just love being over here, and you want to interact, and you want this country to change, no matter how bad it is, right? So one of the reasons is for us as well, that we enjoy these conversations even though how hard it is. But yes, as a
Mhm.
businessman, as an entrepreneur, it 100% makes more sense for us to focus in UAE, to focus in Singapore, to focus at least around whatever is available, and to try and disrupt those markets. 100%, yes. So yeah,
Nice.
linking back to that point, India is just thinning on margins day in and day out, and it's taking a toll on us. Yes, we're just waiting for it to become travel as a service, where we go on per user and we just offer good pure technology. Uh, with I think AI, your backend operations are also going to get streamlined sooner or later. You might not need these kind of humongous staff and efforts. Like we have 100 employees right now, who are sitting at the working behind the scenes for rescheduling, cancellations, etc., etc. So our next game changing shift is going to come in the back end operations of it. It's very critical. I mean, ChatGPT today even make mistakes on simple Excel sheet calculations. I mean, it doesn't do it well. So you can't trust an AI to do your calculations still, is what I feel.
All right. But I love that for you because it goes back to what you said at the very beginning of today's show in terms of why travel. And you love the variables in it. You love the challenge in it and coming back to the market that you've chosen. And also, what's the quote? Be the change that you want to see in the world. And
Yep.
I love that. I
That is
absolutely love that. Thank you. I don't believe there's. If you got any more questions for Varun, send them over. If not, we're gonna wrap this one up. But it's been a pleasure speaking with you today, Varun. Looking at the booking side from the specific business vantage point. Thank you so much for sharing how AI powered business travel platforms like yours are transforming the booking experience, particularly in Asia. Before we go, if the audience wants to learn more about Velocity Travel, connect with you or your team, what's the best way for them to do that?
Oh yeah, I mean, you can just write to me directly, Varun at velocity.travel. As simple as that.
All right. Perfect. Fantastic. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, Encora, for making these conversations on Dojo Live possible. Encora does partner with leading travel and hospitality companies to accelerate innovation through world-class engineering solutions. And of course, if you enjoyed this conversation, stick around for the next 3.5 weeks as we're talking all about direct booking here on Dojo Live. And you can catch those insights and other conversations and past episodes on our website, dojo.live, as well as social media. And speaking about what's next, join us this Thursday, April 24th, as we dive into the direct booking equation and how personalization and loyalty are combining to maximize hotel profitability. That will be with P3's Phelan Picard. So until then, stay curious, stay innovative, and bye for now. Thank you once again,
Thank
Varun.
you. Pleasure.